Student friends, now we'll discuss second method of X-ray diffraction. It is rotating crystal method. That method is rotating crystal method. We have discussed the Lau method of X-ray diffraction in previous lecture. Now, in this rotating crystal method, the name clearly indicates that the crystal is or single crystal is kept rotating slowly about the vertical axis with the help of a rotor. So, in this rotating crystal method of X-ray diffraction, a beam of monochromatic X-rays is used. We have to take the monochromatic beam of X-rays, means here the lambda is fixed. You can see that here the lambda is fixed. That means we have to use the single wavelength, and this beam of monochromatic X-rays is allowed to fall on the single crystal. Let me show the experimental arrangement. Is like this. So it is allowed to fall on this single crystal. So this is the single crystal, and by using this collimator, a fine beam of X-rays is obtained, and it is allowed to fall on this single crystal. And the crystal is fixed to this spindle, and this rotor is used to rotate the crystal slowly through very small angles. And care is taken that one of the crystallographic axis coincides with the axis of rotation. We know that there are three crystallographic axes. We can call it as A, B, and C. So one of the crystallographic axis is made coincide with the axis of the rotation, which is kept perpendicular to the direction of the incident beam. So this is the direction of the incident beam, and this is the axis of the rotation, and it should coincide with the one of the crystallographic axis. Again, the size of the crystal is used is very small. Again, it is 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. So it is very small size specimen is used, on which the beam of monochromatic X-rays is made incident, and the crystal is placed at the center of the cylindrical holder. So this is the cylindrical holder, and it is the crystal is concentric with the rotating spindle, which is shown here. Actually, it is a cylindrical chamber, and photographic film strip is wrapped inside this cylindrical chamber, so that when X-rays they are reflected from the crystal planes, they will produce spots or lines of spots, which are called as lines, layer lines, which are called as, and such lines they are observed on the photographic film strip. So it is wrapped around inside this cylindrical chamber, and the undeviated X-rays they will emerge out through this portion. This is the collimator like portion which is used to leave the X-rays which are not reflected. So this is the experimental arrangement, simple experimental arrangement used to study the rotating crystal method. Remember that the crystal is kept rotating slowly, which is mounted on the spindle, and it is rotated with the help of this rotor. And the axis of rotation should coincide with the one of the crystallographic axis, and the axis of rotation and crystallographic axis they are perpendicular to the direction of the incident X-rays. So that is the experimental arrangement used to study the rotating crystal method. Now the diffraction of X-ray, it will take place from the planes, and we know that the Bragg's condition 2d sine theta is equal to for first order, we can call it as for first order, 2d sine theta is equal to lambda will be satisfied, means the values of d, theta, and lambda, they will match and satisfy the Bragg's condition for particular angle of orientation. And the crystal planes which are parallel to the axis of rotation diffract the incident rays in the horizontal plane. That means if you look at the diffraction pattern which is obtained in this rotating crystal method is like this. So here it is observed that suppose this is the direction of the incident beam, and actually suppose this is the c axis. Let's assume that this is the c axis. So I'm assuming that suppose this is the c axis, and suppose the axis of rotation coincides with this c axis, which is a crystallographic axis. Then when the beam of x-rays is incident, and the Miller index corresponding to this plane, actually it will be 0, because it will have infinite intercept, because such a plane will be parallel to the c-axis, and therefore when it is kept continuously rotating, so this incident beam of x-rays, they will be reflected, and they will form uh, diffraction pattern somewhat like this. So you will observe this plane in which the X-rays will be diffracted or reflected from the plane which is parallel to the C-axis. Now, no reflection will be observed for those planes which always contains the incident beam of X-rays. So the plane which contains the incident beam of X-rays, they will not show any kind of reflection. It is obvious. And the planes which are inclined to the axis of rotation shows reflections above and below the horizontal plane depending upon the axis of inclination. That means if you consider, suppose this is the direction of the incident X-rays, and suppose this is the c-axis which coincides with the axis of rotation, and suppose these are other two axes. Suppose this is a axis, and suppose b axis. So there if you consider then plane having Miller indices h, having Miller indices h, k, and 1, means the planes which makes intercepts along a axis and along b axis, and which intercepts one unit along this c axis. So if you consider such a plane, and if it's kept continuously rotating, so it will produce a diffraction pattern which will be somewhat like this. So because it is kept continuously rotating, and it will show the reflected beam of X-rays in this way, and it will produce a layer line somewhat like this. Similarly, there will be immediate planes having Miller indices h, k, and -1 or 1 bar. That means the plane is making intercept on a unit distance along the c-axis on negative side. So again, such a plane which is kept continuously rotating, and it will show the diffraction pattern somewhat like this. So that you will observe these layer lines. Actually, this is a pattern obtained, depression pattern obtained in case of this rotating crystal method. So for L is equal to 0, means the plane which is parallel to c-axis, because we have taken c-axis coinciding with the axis of rotation of the crystal, and it will produce the depression pattern somewhat like this. And if you take the plate having Miller indices h, k, and 1, so it will show the diffraction pattern like this. That means layer line is observed like this. And for the planes having Miller indices h, k, and -1, the layer line will be observed like this. So in this way, we will get this diffraction pattern, which are called as the layer lines. And actually, the layer lines can be shown like this. So I will in detail show like this. So this is the diffraction pattern. So what does this diffraction pattern indicates? Now this diffraction pattern clearly indicates that this is the vertical distance between these two planes will be nothing but the vertical distance between the layer lines, it will depends upon the distance between the lattice points along the c-axis. Hence, the distance c can be measured from the photographic plane. Means if you look at these two, because this is layer line which is observed when the plane is parallel to the c-axis, and this is the layer line for the plane having Miller indices L is equal to 1. Means these two planes will give you actually the interplanar spacings, or you can call it will give the value of C also if the crystal is belonging to the cubic crystal system. So the distance C can be measured on the photographic film. Similarly, if you make the a-axis coinciding with the direction of the axis of rotation of the crystal, then you will get the same pattern and you will get the distance between the layer lines as A. And similarly, you can determine the distance between the layer lines by making the B axis parallel to the axis of rotation or coinciding with the axis of rotation. In this way, you will get the values of A, that is constants A, B, and C. So this particular method is used to determine the dimensions of unit cell like this. So if you remember, Law method is used to study the crystal symmetry. There you cannot get the crystal structure and like that, but here you will get the lattice constants by making the axis crystallographic axis one by one parallel to the axis of rotation. Then you will get the values of A and B in this manner. So these values helps to determine the crystal structure and shape of the crystal structure. So in this way, the rotating crystal method helps to get the determine the lattice constants A, B, and C. So hope you might have understood this lecture. Thank you for watching this lecture.